Hey, good morning. Pete from North Las Vegas. We're going to be taking a look at an A2 upper that I recently purchased from JSE Surplus. And I've already done a video comparing this H&R A2 that I got from Palmetto State Armory to my old 1990 Colt Sporter. But we'll kind of take another look between the three of them, but I'm primarily going to focus on JSE Surplus. And I've already looked at this off camera, and we did find a minor issue, and then we did find another issue that can be fixed that I wasn't real happy about. But we'll get to that here in just a second. So I got curious, and I sent JSE Surplus an email before I purchased the upper, and I said, hey, where are you guys having these things machined? And they got back to me pretty quick. A couple hours later, JSE Surplus said that they are getting their A2 uppers from R Armory out of Texas. So I went to R Armory, and their main page is called R Armory, but as soon as you go into their store, it becomes Freedom Factory Tactical. So R Armory and Freedom Factory have the same email address, same phone number, same brick and mortar address. So it's looks to me like the same ownership. They've just divided up their house between machining and their online retail. So anyway, like I said, Freedom Factory Tactical is located out of Conroe, Texas. So that is where JSE Surplus has been getting their A2s. And I think they get their A1s. I'm not sure if they get their A1s from the same place, because I can't find A1s listed anywhere at R Armory or Freedom Factory Tactical. But according to JSE, the A2s do come from them. Okay, so I think the first thing we'll do is we'll get into the weeds here, and then we'll come back towards the end of the video and look at things from a cosmetic standpoint. The back of the bore here comes in at about 0.999, according to these Chinesium calipers. For those of you that may not know, the bore spec for the receiver is 1 inch plus 2 thousandths. Not plus or minus, just 1 inch plus 2 thousandths. So your minimum spec is 1 inch. And we're coming in a little bit tight, according to these calipers. So let's measure the front and see what happens. Okay, so the front of the receiver, maybe 5/10 thousandths. Possibly 1,000th. Like I said, these are kind of cheesy calipers, plus or minus maybe 1,000th. But according to the calipers, the receiver bore is a little bit on the tight side. So let's take a brand new bolt carrier from Wilson Combat and put it in there and see what happens. Okay, so this is a genuine Colt charging handle that I borrowed out of my H&R for this bolt carrier test on the JSE, or I should say R Armory. Fitment's good, slides in and out, no unusual friction or anything. So let's get our Wilson Combat barrel bolt carrier, and once again, according to our caliper measurements, this is a little bit, the receiver is a little bit tight, so let's see if that is in fact the case. Let me get the charging handle locked in. Sorry about the camera work. So, all right, I can feel a little bit of, just a slight amount of resistance right there. But I think we're good. Just a little bit of resistance. Probably after about 50 rounds, that'll be perfect. So anyway, it slides in under its own weight, so we're good there. So I got this barrel nut from Fulton Armory, and it's a nice snug fit. Like, I got to put a little bit of force behind it, so it's a good fit on the threads. And this fits about the same on my H&R. So that's good there. Good barrel nut fitment. Okay, so This is an A2 rear sight that I got from Rock River Arms quite some time ago. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to buy from Rock River Arms, but at the time when I was looking for an A2 rear sight, they were the only ones that had them in stock for months. So I decided to go ahead and get one from them. So anyway, Rock River Arms rear A2 sight. And with this thing all the way down, there is no movement at all. I mean, this is a very, very snug fit. So really happy about that. If you come up a little bit, you'll start to get just an ever so slight amount, but this is probably the best fitting A2 rear sight that I have on a carry handle so far. So this appears to be good. Okay, so how are we doing on pin fit on the lower? Very, very little movement. Really happy about that. H&R lower. I did take this off and I put it on the Colt, and it felt about the same. So good fitment as far as wobble. Now on the front here, back and forth pin movement, there's, like if I go straight back and forth, you know, very, very little movement. So it's a good fit on the lower. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to know was if the barrel extension pin slot was machined into the correct place and lined up with the carry handle and the rear sight, or lined up well enough. And what I'm about to show you is kind of a really crude way of doing it, but it satisfies me that this notch was in the correct place. So what I did was I got an 1/8 inch drill bit. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick that up, but if you look at the end of the drill bit here, you can see it has a kind of a point on it, a radius. So what I did was you put the drill bit in here, and with the right amount of tension, I can find the center of the bore down here, and I can get pretty close. I would say I'm probably within at least 1/2 degree of getting this drill bit centered. And then I use my pointer to figure out if that notch was in alignment with the carry handle and where the rear sight's going to go. And when I did this off camera, it came in like pretty much right on the money. So I believe that this slot for the barrel extension and the extension pin is in the right spot. So now we are going to get to something that's not right, and it's that gas tube hole. Okay, so far we've checked the receiver enough to where I was satisfied that, you know, it's good enough to go ahead and continue with the build. And the last thing I decided to check was the gas tube. And what we had here was it would get started, but it wouldn't go all the way through. And I thought, well, is there a burr in there? Is that what's hanging it up? And no, it's not a burr. And let me put this gas tube in from the other side, and I'll show you what's going on. Okay, so with the gas tube coming in backwards, you can see where it just doesn't quite make it. Ends up in about, it gets stuck in about the same spot. So those flats in between where the holes were drilled, there's something going on back there. It's out of dimension, out of spec. But like I said, it's not a burr. I've already taken a really close-up look in there. Something just wasn't machined or drilled right. So then I thought, well, maybe it's not the receiver. Maybe it's the flare on this gas tube. And so now we're looking at the H&R receiver, and you can see that just goes right in like butter. And there's plenty of room once you get past the flare, even with the flare in there, to where the gas tube still floats a little bit. And you need these to float a little bit for your bolt carrier gas key engagement. If this was perfectly stiff inside there and couldn't move, you may run into issues where, you know, your BCG rams the gas tube and doesn't fully engage, causing damage. So I've decided that something's going on with this receiver. where they didn't quite get the gas opening here, the gas tube opening correct. Okay, so obviously there's something smaller on the double R versus the H&R. And I don't know if it's the lighting or what, but to me, if you look at the one I got from JSE, that opening, even to me by eye, looks smaller than the H&R opening. I mean, we already know that, but just visually you can see a slight difference, I think. Okay, so I have a square needle file, and I'm going to get in there and touch that thing up until I can get the gas tube in it. So let's do that. Okay, so I have a square needle file, and I'm just going to get in there and touch up the dimension until that gas tube fits in there. The area that's getting pinched is more towards the back of the bearing surface. So I don't think I need to open this up here. I'm going to kind of angle it back and get the inside. So we'll be back when I get the gas tube to fit. Okay, so it took literally like 2 or 3 swipes on all 4 corners. So I think it was just some anodized that was kind of built up in there that needed to be knocked down. But there's plenty of room for the gas tube to float. But it's still fairly snug up against the bearing surfaces of those 4 corners. So we're good there. I think, like I said, I think it was just a little bit of a buildup of the anodize. Wasn't really a dimensional problem. Okay, so now that we got that issue taken care of, let's kind of look at the more of the finish, the more cosmetic. This is my old 1990 Colt Sporter. You can see here on the back where they've really smoothed out the flashing. H&R, they smooth it out a little bit, but they don't get it flush. So that's probably some oil down there. And here's the one I got from double R Armory through JSE. You can see they smoothed it out a little bit more, but you can still kind of see that it's there. All right, so let's take a look at the top of the carry handle. Pretty nice on the Colt. H&R looks really good. And the JSE came with a ding. You can see that ding right there. And that's been anodized over, so it was like that before they anodized it. Okay, so here's my old 1990 Colt. On the inside of the carry handle, you can see that they left the flashing behind. H&R did the same thing. Double R Armory, they smoothed this out really nice inside. The whole handle has been all nice and smoothed out. You can see aluminum brass forging, and the H&R aluminum brass forging. And my old Colt, I think that was Mueller brass if I remember right. Okay, so once again on my old Colt, they smoothed this area out. H&R, they smooth it out, but they don't get rid of all of it. And here's the one from JSE. It's all been smoothed out. Looks pretty nice. Okay, so anodized color. The one I got from JSE, it came from Double R Armory, or Freedom Factory Tactical. The coloration of the one I got from JSE seems to match the lower color a little bit more. Now, I don't have oil on this yet, and this is the H&R upper on the right. So I don't know. It depends on the lighting and what angle you're looking at, but let me put some oil on this, because I think once I get some oil on this, it might be actually a closer match color-wise. But let's find out. Okay, so there's the JSE after I put a little bit of oil on it. Slight difference in the color. And here's the H&R upper on the H&R lower. Still a very slight difference in anodized color, but I don't know. Maybe the H&R does match the lower a little bit better. You guys can decide. Okay, so final thoughts. The R Armory or Freedom Factory Tactical. If you buy directly from them, $115. If you go through JSE Surplus, they're $110, so you save $5. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Okay, so like we just said, 110 stripped versus 160 for the H&R. I think overall that the R Armory or JSE was better finished as far as the flashing. We did have that minor little blem right there, and then we had to fine tune the gas port or the gas tube opening on the receiver, which I think was just a little bit of extra anodized built up in there. So that was a minor fix. So I don't know. Me personally, this probably the better deal. I don't know. You guys can decide. All right, Pete, North Las Vegas, over and out.